Rappers and politics. Pose for the frame. So the question is: should rappers get in the mix or get involved in politics? What do you think? And my answer is absolutely. Listen, anytime it's a topic or a subject at hand and they tell you to stay away from it, they're like, yeah, we don't tell or we don't speak on sexual preference or religious beliefs or politics. It's typically something being hidden. That's just, what I've gathered based on my own interpretation and knowledge and seeking and finding and things of that nature. So it's important for us to get involved in the things that may be being swept under the rug because when it's all said and done, we are affected by it. Now, I can honestly say that as it relates to the president, in my personal life, I haven't felt a direct effect by any president. However, that doesn't mean politics doesn't affect me because politics are who pass the laws, make the laws, things of that nature. And a lot of times it's the things that happen in your locals that you need to be involved in as well. The big presidential campaigns is just a part of it, but you need to understand what's going on in the municipalities in your area in order for you to see how it best benefits you. And I can honestly say I have not done my due diligence in terms of understanding that thoroughly in my area, but I'm doing better in learning and just kind of trying to better get an understanding of what's going on because I know it affects me. And I know if I don't personally learn it, how can I possibly teach it to my kids? So that's what you got to understand. You got to understand how you got to get uncomfortable in order to change the dynamics. Because if money isn't talked about in the household, and as you know, I like to talk about rap from a wealthy standpoint. If money isn't talked about in the household, then how can you change it for the upcoming generation? You got to talk about it. You got to learn about it. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're illiterate in those areas, you got to start somewhere. And politics is no different because it affects your pocket, it affects your well-being, and it's a lot of stuff going on, especially after 2020 and beyond. That politics is starting to get a lot of light shined on it in terms of people who are deep thinkers and starting to remove the blinders and starting to see things for themselves and realize everything ain't what it seems. So, that being said, should rappers get into politics? Absolutely. I feel like rappers are some of the best people that can get involved in politics because we learn how to take situations, create a metaphor that makes it make sense to those we explain it to because we just are wordsmith naturally. We naturally take something, find a way that it correlates in our mindset to where we understand it, and now we can regurgitate that and make it plain so somebody else can understand it. So we can be some of the best people to interpret something and become the best teachers. Not only that, we also are some of the ones who can influence people to understand what they may be sleeping on because sometimes we just kind of fall victim and become sheep, as I like to call it, and just believe what the masses are believing and accept what the masses are accepting and accept what's being fed to the masses by the media. And we don't think for ourselves, but rappers have a way of thinking for themselves, really wanting to rebel from a standpoint of being independent or being self-thinkers, self-initiators. And I think rappers are the best people because as artists, the art form was created in a place that was centered around just expressing yourself, self-expression, being able to stand on your own too. Being able to understand that even though this is my scenario, I'm going to show or highlight the good in my scenario and make the most of it. That's just the culture itself. So I definitely think that we should get involved and we should understand and lock arms and really educate as many people as possible about what's going on. Now, that's my brief rant and my perspective just so you can understand it. And what does that have to do with you being a wealthy rapper? Everything, because at the state that we're in now, if we don't get an understanding of what's going on, things can shift pretty quickly. And I'm not going to speak on, saying that one person getting in the office or a president getting in the office is going to change your life, because I feel like everything happens perfectly. I feel like we're covered. I feel like we're spiritual beings. I feel like no matter what, you know, it's some light at the end of the tunnel, and everything happens for a reason, in a sense. However, you got to get in the game and understand that you must play a part, because yeah, everything happens for a reason. But if you don't play a part on the things that you can play a part in, then you fall victim to whatever happens, and then you just kind of got to deal with it until things pan out, versus you being a part of what could take effect. And now, even though things happen for a reason, you played a part in making something different happen. Brief story, because yeah, everything happened for a reason, but that doesn't mean that you allow things to just happen just because things happen for a reason. A lot of people get that twisted. So in my neighborhood, it's a pretty diverse. I live on a diverse street. It's probably an even split of blacks and white, and I put that in quotes because when it's all said and done, we're all connected on another level. But I won't get too deep into that, in that perspective in this video. But I live on a diverse block. It's probably an equal amount of blacks and whites. If I had to weigh it all out. Anyway, there was an altercation taking place. And my neighborhood, the street is quiet. It's like quiet typically. And even though it's a diverse block, not a lot of people talk to each other, like at all. We really don't know each other and know our neighbors. And I'm just being honest. And I've been here for years, and it's just a couple people I just know, and it's just on a touch and go basis, other than somebody who's like family, stays a couple of doors down from me. But we really don't speak a lot. However, it was an altercation taking place, and my wife, she was hearing it. I wasn't hearing it because I was in the studio, and it's kind of soundproof, so it's a lot of stuff that I missed. And she kept saying stuff, and she was like, "Yeah, are you hearing that?" I'm like, "No." Anyway, it was two neighbors arguing. It was a black gentleman and a white gentleman that was arguing, and it started getting a little hectic. She was like, "Yeah, they arguing, da da da." So I heard it, and I'm like, "All right, let me go out there," And mind you, I've had dialogue and seen them, but it's not like we just know each other. But I just knew I could be a voice of reason and just kind of pan everything out. And they was getting out of hand. They was, calling each other stuff and threatening to do this to each other. And this is not even a hood kind of area, but things just got out of hand based on some other stuff. So it ain't even the hood. It's like a mini off-skirt suburb in a sense. And, anyway, they started disputing. But when I got it there, it's like everything panned out. I was able to talk to both sides individually, and everything ceased. Now, I could have been that person that says everything happened for a reason and just sat back and did nothing. But because I stepped out there and they know I'm low-key, chill, they might see my boys coming and going, things of that nature, stuff just ceased. Just the energy itself shifted. So I said that to say this. You never know what role you can play, and the energy that you have or the influence that you have on those that you connect to, speak to, that you can play a part in the world that we're living in, as well as in politics. So even though this isn't a political situation, in a way it kind of was, because it was two different people, had two different opposing views, as many politicians and things of that nature do. I came as a mediator to be able to see from a non-biased perspective, regardless of race, a non-biased perspective of what was going on. And truth be told, I honestly understood where the white brother was coming from because of some other things that we were able to connect on, and we saw eye to eye in different areas. But that's a whole nother conversation. But truth be told, I served as a mediator, and had I not done that, things could have got really out of hand. Really out of hand. I'm going to just say that, really out of hand. And it felt good because when I got out there, stuff ceased. And that's not to be braggadocious, but it's just to say that you play a part no matter where you are. And if you had the ability to say something or play a part or really influence or impact, do it by all means, because I promise you, if you're not doing it, it's somebody else who's doing it, and they might not have the world's best interests at heart. They might be just trying to get off their own secret agenda and things of that nature, because it's a lot of that going on. So rap and politics should coincide. And I mean, for the people who are thinkers in rap, really people who are intelligent in rap. Not that everybody isn't, but I promise you, there's some people out here that's just, they just leading people astray. I'll say that. Now, this video was inspired by a brief blog post that I saw that was talking about how Cardi B had a conversation with Joe Biden. And I remember that Cardi B had a conversation with Bernie Sanders back when he was up and running. And this one, she was just talking about different things or whatever the case may be. And she had her certain things that she wanted to voice. And one of the things was taxes. We'll get on that. You know how I feel about taxes if you've been tuning in for any amount of time. And another thing, she was just trying to see what his plans were. And she said, I just want to get Trump out, so we can discuss this and that. And Joe Biden said something about free school and education for people who make less than $125,000. She said, "Do you think that's possible?" He was like, "Yeah, and she was concerned about the taxes possibly increasing." Look, Cardi B has a lot of influence, and she was just saying how she wanted to get Trump out in her conversation with Joe Biden. Be careful, because sometimes they just leverage who they know has influence just for the sake of trying to gain our vote. And a lot of times, and I say our as it relates to our culture, because whether you're black or not, if you're in the rap culture, then we have some commonalities that we can all agree on, and we see eye to eye, even on political things a lot of times, and it's bigger than black and white. It's a lot bigger than black and white, because if you have the rap culture in you, then it's a good chance that you are, if anything, you might be a patriot and you just love the country of America, or you just have some down to earth roots. I just say that, and it's really probably not a racist bone in your body, because of the culture of rap. It really just blends people and just kind of minimizes a lot of that. So when I say us as a people, I'm speaking for the culture as well, but specifically blacks or natives or indigenous people. So that being said, be careful, because a lot of times they just use people to leverage and get your influence, because they use other influencers to manipulate you to sway in one direction. Now, as it relates to the presidential elects that we currently have, or the candidates that we currently have, Biden and Trump, I just encourage you to do your homework on certain things, because a lot of times people get demonized publicly and we just accept it. Look into both parties. Like, look into them. Look into what they have done. Matter of fact, don't even worry about what somebody else said about media, things in that along those lines. Look into what have they done. If you can't list 10 things that they have done positively, then you shouldn't even be voting to begin with. So make that something that you do. Like, look into, if you want to look into Joe Biden, look into 10 things he's done positively and see what you come up with. And then you might stumble upon some other stuff and look into that as well. And if you want to look into Trump, look into 10 things he's done positively and really look into it and come from a non-biased perspective and just kind of say, man, and you might be surprised at the findings. You might be surprised at what you find. You might be surprised at what certain things have been done. And you really just got to take a cold, hard look at the scenario and see how it best fits you. Because it's a good chance that some of the lies or some of the things that you've been told might not be so accurate. And it's a lot of times the people who get the most darts thrown at them might not be what you think. You gotta kind of dig deep. And I won't get into it in this video, but some videos coming where I want you to just open your mind, because when the wool was pulled from my eyes and I started really looking into it from the angle I just told you to look at it, I was like, oh, it's a lot of people sleep. And I was one of them as well, who didn't know the real deal of what was going on. But now that I'm more aware, I'm able to see how people are being manipulated in order to sway in one direction. That's that. So think for yourself, but your homework from this as a wealthy rapper is for you to look into both sides of the political campaign, and don't just say, you know what, I'm just rolling with this because that's what my parents was going for. I'm just rolling with this because everybody else don't like this person. Don't do that. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing your children a disservice if you have children, and you're doing the culture a disservice if you just sway without doing your own due diligence. Be able to think for yourself and make a roundabout decision based on your findings, not somebody else's findings. Never leave it up to someone else, because most of the time that's what we do. We just say, my family was raised Democrat, I'm going Democrat. My family was raised Republican, I'm going Republican. But if you look into the history of them both, you'll be surprised. And many of you will probably already know, so you probably, can attest to some of the perspectives that I'm leaning towards without even saying it. Now, with Cardi B talking about the taxes, and she talked about how she has to pay 40% in taxes, and that's a high amount of taxes. And I know she makes a high amount of income, but this is what Cardi B got to understand, and this is what you can have the upper hand on. So even though she might make millions and you might make thousands, it doesn't matter, because if you have an understanding of the fact that you are a business, whether you're sole proprietorship, whether you have it structured in a way that allows you to benefit from other tax benefits, then it doesn't matter. But the fact that you are a business as an artist, you can be like Amazon, who makes a certain amount of money but pays zero in taxes. If Cardi B knew that she was a business entity and she set herself up properly, she wouldn't be tripping about the 40% in taxes, because she would have so many tax deductions based on the things that she does, spends money on, the marketing, all of those things. Like the video that she recently did with Megan Thee Stallion, and WAP, and I did a brief video on that from a different angle. She said she spent about $100,000 alone just on getting people tested for COVID, just to be a part of the video. That's 100% tax deductible, because that all was a part of her music video, which is a part of positioning her to be profitable, which is a part of her business. So even though she might be in the 40% tax bracket, you got a lot of tax deductions, Queen, that you just don't understand. So please don't let them just use you in a way that, is not empowering you. Because if a person really cared and really wanted to give you some nuggets, they'll let you know the things that I'm letting the people who care to listen to me. And that is, you are a business. You can legally minimize your taxes, legally pay less in taxes, all because if you set yourself up properly, then you're in good shape. And I know Offset, he's a brilliant brother, so hopefully he understands the game as it relates to taxes. I talked about a video where he was saying how rappers usually overpay in taxes, or the taxes is what make them broke. So if he understands that, then there's a good chance he may understand the benefits of tax deduction. But if not, that's what this is all about, making sure you as an artist, no matter where you are, even before you get the type of money that they may have, you understand the tax benefits from being a business. And no matter who's in office, with the Democrat or Republican, as long as we got tax laws that benefit those who are employees, or those who are entrepreneurs, business owners, things of that nature, we will always be in position to keep more of our money. But your homework is to do your own due diligence, because rappers and politics should go together, meaning rappers should dive into politics, learn about politics, have conversations about politics, because if we don't, then we'll be, just in the blind and just feeling as though, that's not our speed. Everybody wearing suits and ties, that's not our thing. No, we need to get in there, because we're intellectual people, and a lot of times we'll run rings around some of these people that call themselves politicians, and I mean that. So that being said, that's all I got. I know this was like a rambling video, but hopefully you got a nugget or two and some homework for you to do. That said, if you want to benefit from understand how you can create multiple streams of income as an artist, as a rapper, even if you never get famous, even if you never get a record deal, visit wealthyrapper.com. Get that free content, and then holler at your boy, and we can see how we can bring those multiple streams of income into your household, so you can benefit and be on track to becoming a wealthy artist. Because you got to understand that it's one thing to rap, it's one thing to make music, it's one thing to make money. But if you blend the knowledge with the music, now you can become a wealthy rapper. That's all I got. Cinco Smith at wealthyrapper.com, signing out. Salute.